Welcome to Growing Older and Wiser. I'm Krista Gibson, growing older and hopefully wiser. Today, I would like to talk about something that I see it happening a lot, especially for women, men also, but especially for women and women of all ages. But what I'm witnessing is that the older we get, it seems the more this seems to happen. And that is saying to somebody, I'm sorry, when maybe that's really not what you need to say, especially as we get older and, we make mistakes or we need somebody to take us somewhere, whatever it might be. And we have it on the wrong TV channel, whatever. And we end up saying, I'm sorry. Well, here's the issue with that. First of all, anything you put after the word I'm or I am, you're declaring it so. So when you say I'm sorry, what you're saying is I am sorry. And your subconscious maybe doesn't necessarily hear that you're regretful as it hears that you're just a sorry person. You're no good. So what I'd like to talk about today is some alternatives to that. To start watching yourself and paying attention to yourself. And even maybe don't do anything at first and just see how many times in a day or a couple of days you catch yourself saying, I'm sorry. When, there's no reason to say you're sorry. Something happened, you did something a wrong, quote unquote, wrong way for another person. So let's talk about, instead of saying you're sorry, what else can you do? Well, I wrote a couple of ideas down for you, things that I use and am finding helpful. One is, I love the word oops. Oops defuses things. So if you've done something that another person comes at you for, well, why'd you say that? Or why'd you do that? Or whatever. Instead of saying I'm sorry, say, oops, didn't mean to inconvenience you. But start with oops. And the reason why that is so powerful is that it lessens the charge. So that it's like, oops, it doesn't mean that you are not regretful that you did what you did, but it takes it out of the realm of, oh my God, you didn't kill somebody, Maybe you had it on the wrong TV station. Maybe you didn't fix their meal on time, whatever. Just, oops, I didn't mean to inconvenience you. Another one is, oops, not my intention to offend. And this really works when you have shared an opinion or an idea that someone else takes issue with, and they're like, you're a terrible person. Well, in the old days, you might have said, I'm sorry. No, just, oops, didn't mean to offend you, didn't mean to offend. That, again, it lessens it, it takes the charge off of it, and still you acknowledge to the person because you want to acknowledge people, and you want to make an acknowledgement that something you said or you did perhaps didn't suit them so well. But you're not saying that you did anything wrong because you didn't. You just said your opinion. Another one would be, what would you prefer me to do? Like somebody says, well, you didn't fix something on time. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. You can say, oops, what would you prefer me to do? Or take off the oops and just say, well, what would you prefer me to do? What would you have preferred me to do? So put it back on them as to what would they prefer. But you don't need to say, I'm sorry. Just what would you have preferred me to do? And the one I like, there's two more. One is to say, oops, what was I thinking? Or just, well, what was I thinking? Which again acknowledges that maybe you weren't thinking things through and maybe didn't quite pick up on what they wanted. But it also doesn't cast you as a bad character. And the other last one, that's not so bad is don't do anything. Shrug your shoulders and say nothing. That would be something that's really pretty trivial and you just don't want to open that can of worms with somebody. So there's some ideas for you, but the main thing is to start watching yourself and canceling out I'm sorry. And again, I said it's more women who do it than men, but I see men do it as well. And especially as we grow older, and sometimes we start feeling less than. And if we don't feel it, some people around us might be more than happy to try to make us feel that way and maybe berate us for something that, there's really nothing wrong with what we did or said. It just inconvenienced them, or we didn't meet their expectations, or whatever it might be. And so especially as you grow older, nix the I'm sorry thing. Just get rid of it. And maybe you have to do it in stages and just get to saying sorry without saying I'm sorry. Say, sorry, didn't mean to do that. And then eventually work out from sorry altogether and go over to oops. What I would invite you to do that I think would just be really valuable, and I asked some of you did this the last time I asked for something and I just loved it. In the comments section, if this is an issue that you have worked on or are working on, and you have some further suggestions for ways to handle this, either words to use or ways to look at things, please use the comment section and share your knowledge and wisdom with the rest of us. I know I would appreciate and value it, and I'm quite sure everybody else would as well. Thank you so much for being here, and just oops your way through if you have to. See you next week.